Hi, we're Richard and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust.
We are just so excited. We're in Birmingham and we are at the Motorhome and Caravan Show, and we are on a mission. We want to see what 5m40 campervans are available on the market at the moment.
If you're new to the channel, we're Richard and Jackie and we are from Early Retirement Wanderlust, and we are reasonably experienced campervanners. We have owned our VW T6 campervan Nelson for the last 7 years and we have loved every moment of it. We have travelled around the UK, we've travelled extensively in Europe, which is why it feels like we're betraying him a little bit by coming to the Motorhome Show.
But when we bought him, we did buy him as a sort of 9-10 year project. We can't trade the van for another year because we need to wait until we get our pensions. But we do need to start looking now. So we are looking for campervans that are around 5m40. We are looking for just that little bit of extra length that might give us a bed that's more permanent and a little bit more height now that we know that we're going to be keeping this van hopefully for another 10 years into our 60s.
And for those of you that are wondering why the 5m40 restriction, we've got a number of reasons for that, one of which is a very high dry stone immovable wall that is at the side of our house, and we can't fit anything more than a 5m40 van around the back of the house, so that's a limiting factor. And also we live in the Yorkshire Dales and I can cope okay with driving the transport around there, but what I wouldn't want to do is to drive a van that's particularly much longer than that, and a 5m40 van is only 40 centimetres longer than the transporter, but it seems to give us a lot more van.
The other thing is, if I'm driving it particularly, I do think a 5m40 van would still be easier to drive around the towns and for me to park it, because I'm not great at parking, and anything bigger I wouldn't even try.
And the other advantage with us getting older, when we first got Nelson, we were adamant that we were not going to have a toilet or a shower in the van. We're getting a little bit older, we are exploring a little bit more, we love to go skiing in the van, and it would be more advantageous when we're travelling across Europe to have our own facilities because it means that we can use the airs.
So as we said, we're here in Birmingham, actually reviewing and going into the minutiae details of campervans is not really our style. We don't particularly understand so much of the technical things that come with all these campervans, so we're just doing this in a Jackie and Richard style. We are looking for all of the campervans that are 5m40 that are high, so based on a Fiat Ducato rather than a VW Transporter with a pop top, and we're just sort of comparing what's out there on the market, but not with too many technicalities at this point.
And you will probably know, if you've seen us on the channel before, we're not massive fans of vlogging in public, so we ain't going to be doing that when we're going around the show. So we're going to capture some images, we're going to show you what we've seen, and then we'll catch you a little bit later.
We had a great day at the show. We were absolutely exhausted by the time we got home, and actually it's been a couple of days since we were there, and we've had a good look at the footage that we got. I'm in the doghouse a little bit because it was my job to take lots of photos, and I was just so busy looking, and there were people everywhere that I didn't take many, so there's not as much footage as Richard would like of some of the vans.
The download moment was amazing because I was downloading gigabytes of the stuff, and when Jackie's download came through, it got like 5 images on. So yeah, bit of a problem there, but it was an amazing show. And we were really surprised at how many small vans there were there. We weren't expecting that many 5m40 vans, and we've got loads to go through.
We have. We've actually sat down for the last couple of hours and just made some notes on the different vans that we did see so that we can sort of talk through some of the plus points and some of the things that we noticed about them.
So the first van we saw was the beautiful Westfalia Columbus 540D. It was one of the most expensive 5m40 vans that we saw, and it was really well designed and really robust, and you could see where your money was going. It was based on the Fiat Ducato and it had a pop top, so that might explain the sort of elevated cost. The bathroom was really simple, it got clean lines, it was a little bit small but perfectly functional. Though the camera doesn't necessarily show it, we absolutely loved the upholstery. It was a tweed in a sort of a dark green. It was really quite unique. We didn't see anything like it in any other vans, and it was really striking, and it led to a really warm feeling in the front of the cab. The dealers had made the decision to add a larger screen in the cab area, which again just added to that feeling of quality and that feeling of luxury. In the kitchen it had the standard double burner and sink combo, but the kitchen units were really well put together, and there was a feeling of quality when you opened and shut the drawers, which was not always the case when you went into other vans. It had a really light and airy bed area, and there was loads of storage above the bed, and it just felt a really sort of quite cozy area. And the fridge was a little bit quirky. It was one of those dual opening ones, so it was by the doorway, so you could get access to the fridge if you fancied a beer from the outside of the van, but it just opened as normal from the inside of the van as well. So we saw quite a few of those in the day, and we were quite impressed with them.
So the next van, which was actually next to the Westfalia van, was a Giottiline V540G. It was so much cheaper than the Westfalia van. You could see that difference in quality. It was based on a Peugeot Boxer van. It was not an automatic, but it was really nice for the price point. We really liked the cupboard doors. They really lightened the interior of the van, and it had a really simple bathroom space. It had, which we didn't see in any of the other vans, a sink that folded up and out of the way so that you had space for the toilet and the shower. It's got a shower curtain. I'm not sure about using that in such a small space like this with it clinging to you. We did love that it had a separate sink to the burner in the kitchen, and it was a really nice sized sink that had a worktop cover that went over the top of it. We weren't sure about the upholstery, and that's more of our preference, because in our VW van at the moment we've got leatherette covers and they've peeled. It was really pretty, it was really clean and sleek, but I wouldn't be sure about getting something with leatherette covers again. And it had a really nice big fridge, so it was actually a much cheaper van. It did look cheaper inside, but it was really nice.
Next van we saw was the Weinsburg Carabus 540 MQ, and the exhibition van that we saw came in at a mid-range price, but the base price of the van was considerably cheaper. Again, it's based on a Fiat Ducato, and it did come with a pop top. It really did feel like it had got a huge garage space compared to the other vans, and we're not quite sure why that was, but the garage just felt really quite wide, which meant it'd fit loads of stuff in. It had really smart leatherette upholstery and really nice embroidery details, but again, we're just not quite sure about the durability of that as to how long it'd last if we're looking to have a van for 10 years. The bathroom was good and it did feel surprisingly spacious. But I guess the thing with the Weinsburg was that it didn't really stand out for good or bad reasons. It was a bit sort of vanilla really, so we can't quite put our finger on why it didn't really float our boat, but I think it was just the middle ground. It wasn't anything particularly spectacular, but likewise it wasn't anything particularly disastrous.
Richard's always fancied having a Hymer van, and the next van was the Hymer 540 Campus. It's definitely a Hymer quality van, and it comes with the Hymer price tag that goes with it. Like most of the other vans that we've looked at, it was based on a Fiat Ducato 540 van. It also had a spacious pop top on it, which we are still really thinking about. Do we want a van with the pop top or not? They do add a lot of extra space, and the pop top is so much better designed than the one that we've got on our VW, so I think we would use it more. The interior was really smart. It was a really minimalist kind of interior, which Richard particularly really liked. The upholstery was fabric, which was a plus for both of us. It had one of the dual opening fridges, so you can open it when you're outside the van or on the inside. They're quite narrow, but they are quite spacious with a nice icebox in them. The bathroom was really simple. We were surprised that it had a shower curtain in at that price point. I thought we were expecting maybe a bit more ingenuity in that design. There was adequate storage in the back. It did come, which was quite a nice little touch, some deck chairs that had their own little space allocated for them and a table. So that was a nice little extra.
Yeah, I really like the Hymer van, but I'm not sure about my knowledge of the past in terms of how I feel about it, because the vans that they used to produce on the Fiat Ducato were considerably cheaper than their top of the range lines that they pushed through with the Sprinters and so on, whereas it did feel an expensive van. It was beautifully designed, it was beautifully finished, but in reality it's probably out of our price range anyway, so yeah.
I'm not even sure, probably. It definitely was.
The Sunliving V55 SP tent top was an absolute revelation to us, although it shouldn't have been because it comes from the Adria group and it had a flavour of the Adria quality throughout. We really like the Adria vans. We're, again, not sure that we can afford an Adria van, but the Sunliving range is their sort of budget range, we think, but it had real Adria quality written all over it. Again, like a lot of the other vans, it's based on the Fiat Ducato and it did come with a pop-top roof. We absolutely loved the interior design. It was just really simple and beautiful, and it had almost like a scanny feel.
Yeah.
The van really benefited from a large garage space, which is exactly what we want out of a van. And throughout the entire interior, we really liked the simple lines and the design within the van. It just had a lovely feel about it. The bathroom was a bit unique. It had like a really extravagant hand basin, which didn't really seem to sort of like fit in the overall sort of compactness of the bathroom. It was a lovely design feature, but again, you know, you got quite a pricey van with shower curtains, and I think that's definitely my phobia. The prospect of being enclosed in a damp shower curtain with it sticking to me, it's not really for me.
So the next van up is the Malibu Compact 540. It is part of the Carthago group, and it really does come with that high standard that you would expect from Carthago vans. It's probably one of our favourites, but I think the price tag at $83,000 with no pop top probably rules it out of our price range again. It's based on a Fiat Ducato, and from the outside it had a really beautiful exterior. It was probably one of the best looking vans that we saw from the outside. The bed inside, which I'm not sure how I felt about it, was much lower, probably a good 8 inches to a foot lower than the other vans. It did mean inside felt much more roomy, and it had much bigger cupboards down the side where your feet would go in the bedroom area, but the boot space was much smaller because the bed was lower, and space is a big thing for us, so I think that would probably rule it out anyway. And I think a compounding fact of it having such a small garage space was they also had a double gas locker, which some of the other vans didn't have, so that took more extra room as well. It had a really unique bathroom design. It had this hideaway toilet that I think slipped underneath where the dinette area is, possibly. It kind of disappeared, so it did make it so you would have a really big shower area, but for us showers aren't really a priority. We probably wouldn't use the shower much. I think I'd rather have the toilet as a permanent feature where it should be rather than having to move it around with your foot. Generally, really nice van. Just a pity we can't afford it.
Yeah, it was really popular. Lots of people liked it for different reasons. The bed height is a real discussion point. Some people like a low bed, some people like a high bed with lots of storage under it. I'm not too sure about moving a loo around inside a van. I don't know, there's something about that. I'm sure it was very well designed, but the potential for it to break, just be frightening. We really like the Pilote V540G. Again, it's based on a Fiat Ducato. It had no pop top, so the price for it was quite high. Now, I'm thinking that Pilote is a French company, and the French style came throughout in the van. It was a beautiful interior. It just felt really clean, really stylized, and we were really impressed with the interior. The upholstery and the dark accents throughout the van contrasted with the white units, and it just seemed to really make the inside of the van pop. It was very, very stylized. Really liked the bedroom area. It felt really cozy. There was reading lights. It was just really well designed. But unfortunately, the garage space was actually quite small. It was pretty narrow, so you wouldn't have been able to squeeze a massive amount of stuff in there. And that was partly due to, again, the double gas locker that restricts the width of the garage. It did have something that we'd not seen before. It had a unique sort of drawer style fridge. It obviously looks like it could store lots of stuff, but for me it just felt a little bit rickety, and I just think that with it being so close to the door as well, that, you know, we would inevitably end up breaking it. But that's based on nothing apart from knowledge of ourselves. And the design features went through from the main part of the van into the bathroom. It was just a super minimalist bathroom. It felt as if it was a bathroom that you could use, that it would be easy to keep clean, and it was just, again, beautifully designed.
And the next van was also another van made by Pilote, and it was like a twin, but a much cheaper version at nearly £9,000 less. But actually, when you went inside, it was almost identical in its design features. The bathroom was, I'm pretty sure, the same bathroom unit, and we really liked that design. The toilet seemed to look more sturdy in its slot.
It was like a bench seat toilet, which just seemed to work.
Yeah, and actually we got the feeling when we were looking through the van that it was almost like everything had been cut from the same pattern. I actually preferred the inside of the Joa van. It was a very light cream with wooden effect decals in it. It still had the same nice reading lights that went with it, but it did come with lots of little extras as well as being cheaper than the original Pilote van. It had a bike rack that came with it. It comes with double leisure batteries and a solar panel. So there was lots of little extras that we kept saying, oh, well, we'd need to put this on. And she said, no, it's already got it. It was a really well-priced van. It's a really pretty van as well from the outside, the decals on the outside. Richard keeps telling me there's not decals, they're decals. The decals on the outside and the colour of the van just made it a really nice van that actually is probably one of the top contenders at the moment.
Yeah, it was really attractive to us, not only in the price, but just in the simplicity of the design. And we're not into anything too fancy inside a van, and it just looked like it was going to work, and it almost wasn't over-designed.
And from some of our research that we have done previously, the Pilote vans are pretty good vans for winterisation. So we go skiing, and we're hoping to do that every year when we get the new van, particularly going off-grid skiing. So that's quite important to us.
So the Globecar was a story of two halves. The first van we saw was the Roadscout, and first impressions were really good, very well designed, very sturdy, looked really nice, until we had a horror moment when we realised the structure of the shower. Bizarre design over function. The shower tray was in the middle of the kitchen, and you use some sort of door system to have a shower in the middle of the galley kitchen. And on the flip side, when you're not having a shower, you stood in the kitchen and you stood on top of the shower tray. So for us, the Roadscout was just a non-starter. However, we then moved on to the Summit 450 and we absolutely loved it. It's actually a Postle van in Europe, and we've seen loads of those out and about, but they just get rebranded as Globecars when they come to the UK. So very, very popular on the continent. So the Summit 450 is another high quality and also high priced van, and it got loads of beautiful design features. We really liked the dinette area because it was so light, mainly due to the two huge skylights that were above the cab area and above the dinette. There was just such a feeling of space, and I think that's an example of you pay your money for a top-end van and you get the top-end design features that do make a difference. It had a really clever design of kitchen, and we liked it was probably the only van that had an extra workspace that came out towards the dinette, so you almost had an L-shaped kitchen, and that astute design carried on into the bathroom. No shower curtain this time, so you had a toilet area, and then when you moved a clip you could move the shower wall that then covered the toilet to produce a shower cubicle. Granted, it was a really tight shower cubicle. At first glance it looked amazing. When I actually got in there, I think I'd have had trouble washing my hair, but we're not wanting a van for its shower, but we did appreciate the design features of that. And out back, it had a really nice, cozy bed area. It was enhanced, I think, by an extra window, which felt that there was, again, a little bit more space there. And the garage felt really roomy, so it ticked so many boxes. But again, it should tick so many boxes because it's that high design, high cost van. We really liked it.
We did. It was probably, I think, in the top 3 of our favourites.
So that's it. That's all the vans that we saw. And as Jackie mentioned previously, we purposely didn't go and look at the 540 vans that had a rear lounge because we wanted a fixed bed, and it's really important for us to have a fixed bed, mainly for the garage and storage space. So we discounted all of those vans straight away, but we were really surprised at how many 5m40 vans there were actually at the show. However,
yeah, two vans that we purposely went to look at because we'd seen them when we went in February weren't there, and they were probably and still are two of our favourite vans. So we are going to have to go and find them at dealerships to have another look. So the first one is the Dreamer D43 UP. It does have a pop top on it, which is what first kind of made us toy with the idea that although you don't need a pop top because you've got the headroom and you've got the fixed bed at the back, actually it's that extra two bed spaces, and it's more sturdy and significant than the pop top that we've got on our VW, so it's much more comfortable. It's got a proper mattress in it. Inside the Dreamer van, it was beautiful, and we just wanted to have another look at it. It was really well made.
As a brand, there were Dreamer vans there, so the salespeople were really good at trying to sort of explain how the 540 van was put together in terms of what the bathroom layout was, and tried to give us examples from the other vans. We just really liked the quality of the vans, and we've had lots of recommendations for the Dreamer van, and we think the design level is just spot on. It's a sort of middle of the range cost wise, but the quality is right up there.
And in the choices, when you configure it, you can have a mountain pack put in it. So it seemingly has a slightly better diesel heater, I think it was. But what I did like is that it has underfloor heating put into it. So it would be nice and cosy for us when we're skiing. And the other thing that drew our attention last time, it's one of the only vans that's got an oven in it, which we're not so sure about. We don't know whether we definitely want an oven, but the thought of being able to put a pizza in and to make nice dishes like tartiflette when we're skiing is quite interesting. And the other thing is that it had one of the biggest fridges. It's a small van, 5m40 vans, but it's one of the biggest fridges I've seen.
It's one of those high level ones, almost double height ones.
Almost as tall as me.
Yeah, be ideal. Amazing. But we couldn't see it, so we were gutted.
And then the other van that we really wanted to go and have another look at was the Cliff RT. It's a van made by the Hymer group. We saw it last time and it was really, really well priced. I think if you were to buy one with pretty much all the mod cons put in for it to be winterized, it came in at about 70,000 with a pop top roof, so it was pretty good value.
When we're out in Europe, we see so many Sunlight vans, and they are really good looking vans, and they are really well made. Granted, they're at the budget end of the spectrum, but that works for us because it means that they've got quite simple lines and quite simple design features for quite simple people. We've got simple needs, so yeah. We were just, again, absolutely gutted that they hadn't got the 540 van there. We're also slightly worried in the fact that there is no reference on the Sunlight website to their pop-top 540, which might suggest that it's no longer available. As Jackie says, there are some in dealers at the moment, but that's just a little bit too early for us.
So with those two vans, that makes 11 vans that are in the running. There are a couple that we've discounted. It was just really interesting to go and have a look at such a wide range in what is basically the same base van.
Yeah, and we were really quite shocked at the prices. They felt really expensive, but the whole show felt really expensive. I think we've got a slightly convoluted view of what is an acceptable price at the moment, but some vans will rule themselves out because we just simply can't afford them. But we are whittling down that list, and it's a really, really interesting process.
So it's probably 12 to 15 months before we will actually be collecting a new van. So we've got lots of time to do bits more research. We'd know some of the vans that we definitely want to go and have proper looks at the dealers, and we know there's a van out there for us because we've seen so many.
So we hope you've enjoyed this little catch-all of the 540 vans that we saw. It's been a bit of a tricky video to do. It's not our usual style, and we're not necessarily ones for a massive amount of detail, and we found it really difficult to put together, but we hope it's come together okay, and we will see you next time when normal service resumes. So see you later. Bye.
Bye.